When we go around to investors, we like to say that our client base is the left-hand column of the Wall Street Journal, and typically I can go into the office of an investor that day, pick up the journal, and throw it down on his table without fear of contradiction.
We did work for Enron, the company, along with many of the other large restructuring cases that people read about every day.
Verizon MCI, the new AT&T Bell South.
And we represent Northwest Airlines Creditors Committee and have for some extended period of time.
We did the jury analysis work for the Dream Team and OJ. We did the evidentiary support for Bush and Bush v. Gore.
Refco is a commodities brokerage firm, and it failed, and there was $400 million missing, and so we've been doing a lot of work to understand what actually happened there.
And when you think of matters where we've leveraged the platform, probably the most high profile and recent case was we led the investigation of steroid use in Major League Sports with Senator Mitchell. That was a case in which we leveraged pretty much many parts of the FTI family of products and services, including a strong linchpin with our forensic and litigation business from the investigative standpoint as well as fact-finding standpoint.
Here in the United States, we have advised on many different critical issues for many of the Fortune 100 companies and hundreds of other companies over the last several years.
The biggest takeover bid in the world recently was the contested acquisition of ABN AMRO. The €5 billion loss at Societe Generale due to a rogue trader and the sort of emergency refinancing of Societe Generale. We've had teams working in London and Paris, and we were brought in by the board to help them through that problem, A, dealing with the crisis surrounding that issue, and then secondly, in the major capital raising that then successfully was completed.
When new people join us, I like to watch the look on their faces when they read our new matters report every morning, because they're stunned at literally the implications to the worldwide financial markets that our activities have. And I can say that after 15 years at FTI, I'm still stunned every morning. It's one of the things I really get a kick out. It's a testament to the great professionals that work for us. FTI was founded by a bunch of scientists and engineers from places like Johns Hopkins, the National Institutes of Health, and the Naval Academy.
They would provide expert testimony in accidents and explosions and a wide variety of disasters.
The person who started FTI was an interesting guy named Dan Luzak, and he had a joint degree in theater and in nuclear physics from Penn State. He realized that from his theater background, that the kind of attention span of the public, not to mention juries, was a lot shorter than it took to explain all these things. So we got into providing visual exhibits in the courtroom. We really kind of revolutionized testimony in U.S. courtrooms. As the company grew, we realized that we needed to be in a business that was repeatable and growable.
And that's when we decided to move more aggressively into forensic analysis and forensic accounting. One, to try to discover the problem and maybe come up with a solution to avoid the litigation, or at least get better prepared to help our clients, navigate the problems going forward.
So we decided in 1998 that we would try to become a first-class financial consulting company to provide the economic and financial testimony in the cases.
The company then just grew and broadened out from that initial inception.
About being at FTI is the people and their varied background.
We have everything from Nobel laureate economists,
weapons experts, lawyers, fraud investigators,
degreed people all the way up from PhD to the classic MBAs.
We have the top 3 economists in the world in competition analysis.
We are really a work in process, pulling together synergistic businesses and bringing in top caliber people to work together to create this financial services firm.
We will succeed by our ability to continue to attract the best and the finest, to motivate them to do their best, and to make sure that they share in our vision and our core values going forward.
And what we needed was a goal to focus on that was a stretch for our people, that was doable, and that everybody could rally around and have a lot of confidence. I wake up every day with 3,000 of the smartest people in the world, and if you give them a goal, you can't wait to get up in the morning to see what's going to happen. And I think when you harness that kind of talent towards a goal, that you're going to see fabulous things happen. The key accomplishments were first making this the place to be. When we started FTI, we had this vision that FTI would be the place to be for investors, for clients, and most important, for the great professionals that make the other two things possible. And I think that, we really have achieved that momentum. Momentum is a wonderful thing in terms of a professional services business. We now really are the place that the professionals in our various industries want to be, because we have the best clients, we have the global footprint, we have good compensation systems, we are making our employees partners in our business. So that's really the number one accomplishment that I see over the 3 years, moving from one of the pack to really, I think, a leader in the industry. Now we have the platform that we've always wanted, we have the global reach, we have the momentum with not only clients but with the great professionals in our businesses, and there's no excuse for us really not being able to accomplish that in 5 years or less. I'm reminded of the quote of Ted Pincus, who was our CFO, and I like to kid with him that he was our CFO through thin and thin, because in those early days we didn't just go to the bank and take down a loan, we actually had to mortgage our houses to make our acquisitions. And he said the other day in response to our talking about the new 5-year plan, he said, when you rolled out the first plan, I thought to myself, I don't know how you can do it. And when we rolled out this plan, he said, I don't know how you can miss. And I think that really is a nice snapshot of how far we've come in terms of our momentum and the resources. I like to think of it as the fact that in the beginning we needed a lot of luck and a lot of things to go our way. Today, we don't need luck and we don't need to mortgage our houses. What we need to do is execute and capitalize on the great platform and, more importantly, the great cadre of people that we've put together. When you talk about the vision for FTI, I've been here a long time, and we started with small steps for small feet, and we had visions to be an alternative to the Big Four, and then with Sarbanes-Oxley we had the opportunity to, in some cases, not only be an alternative but the preferred choice to the Big Four. But now I think my sights are a little bit higher, and I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think of 3 things for FTI. On a macro basis, I want it to be a place that stands for excellence. On a micro basis, I would like every person at FTI to feel that this company makes them better at what they want to be. And on a personal basis, I'd like to know that if I have a problem anywhere in the world, I can pick up the phone and find a capable, committed colleague on the other end who I know I can trust to make it better. When we think about cooperation and collaboration, I think our model has to be the great firms who have gone before us. And when you think about them, when you talk to the great leaders who helped those companies through their transition, they always say the big change was moving from my client to our client to the firm's client. And that's what we really have to do. We have to do that in our thinking, we have to do that in our systems, we have to do that in our knowledge management, we have to do that in our talent sharing, we have to do that in having people move from one of our hopefully soon to be non-existent silos into another. So it has to start with a mindset where we really do want to build a company as opposed to build a practice or an individual practice.
And they're looking at us and our growth and the quality of the people that we have, and they're in awe of what we've been able to accomplish over the last 7 years. I mean, we are ahead of the accounting firms now, whereas before we were just hoping to pick up their crumbs. Well, I think we got to keep moving forward. Now, now that we've accumulated some of the best minds and best practitioners in these businesses, we can really be the leader rather than someone just trying to fill a void. Once we're in the door, by having services like financial dynamics, and maybe we'll bring in a real estate specialty practice, valuation practice, maybe in someday a full service tax practice. We're in the door, we're their trusted advisors, we're at the C-suite, and when you're at that level in the organization, you walk in the halls trying to help them deal with the problems that they're facing. When people think about FTI, I want them to say they're the smartest guys on the block, and when I'm going to war, I want them with me, not against me. Now as we're expanding, we're creating more opportunities to provide more service once we're in the door. There are 2 types of people that work well at FTI. We've got people that are just well-rounded, very bright, alert enough to spot opportunities, and then we've also got the people that are purely domain experts, and the combination of the 2 creates a lot of opportunities for all the practices within the firm. Well, Cerberus is a great example of a large client that has grown with FTI. When Cerberus started out, they were about a $500 million hedge fund, primarily a trader in distressed debt. A typical project, 5, 6, 10 years ago would have been them acquiring a $20 or $30 million business. So With their growth, we've been able to provide them a lot of our services that have included litigation, economic consulting, as well as the core restructuring services that we've been providing them probably for about 20 years. Going forward, they would certainly be a logical buyer of our communications practice services. Economic consulting, as they're looking at buying more businesses that make them larger in the industries where they already own businesses. There may be some antitrust issues that they'll need to deal with. They'll be able to use the corporate finance and the transaction advisory team on both acquisitions and spin-offs of some of their acquisitions that they've done over the years. So they'll continue to be a tremendous client with us as long as we continue to provide them the top-notch service they've learned to expect from us.
So we felt if we could accomplish the $1 billion, that would give us the scale. If we committed to generate $150 million offshore, we would put the organization in place, make the moves we would have to do in order to service and source the revenues offshore. And then finally, and just as important if not more important, if we could drive the ownership deeper down into the company, into the key 100 producers, we would start to develop a culture that valued the enterprise first, the practices and domains second, because one, they would be psychically engaged, in developing and building the enterprise, but just as importantly, they would be financially rewarded through the ownership of stock in how the enterprise did. So that was the basic rationale at the end of 2004 of how we sort of developed the inception of the plan. The great news, now that we're standing here 3 years later talking about the inception of the plan, is that number one, we hit the $1 billion of revenue in 3 years, not 5 years. Number two, at the end of the fourth quarter this past year, we're generating 19% of our revenue offshore. So on $1 billion in revenue, that would be approximately $190 million on a run rate. And number three, when we developed the plan, the stock was worth $18 a share. Today, it's trading at 64. And we've been able to transfer to our key employees more than $60 million worth of equity value in the last 3 years. The ownership of a wide variety of our key people, and then down into the trenches that drove it. It wasn't the executives. I've always said if you want to be the leader, you have to be the actor and not the reactor. So I think we need a combination of the discipline of trying to develop a plan and tactics that they can measure, that they can launch, that have realistic possibilities of achievement. But then two, the thinking out of the box of, are we doing it right? Does the market demand more? More importantly, will the market demand it differently 2 years from now or 3 years from now? And do we have to start that process today rather than wait and see that the market's changed and then we have to change with the market? I think we want FTI to be one of the 4 or 5 great brands that furnishes human capital. There is no reason that when people 5 years from now are speaking about the great brands that create value added through human capital, that FTI isn't on their lips as well. I think enterprise value is a function of 2 variables. Results, which would be R, times reputation, which would be an R. So if we want to do a simple equation, R times R equals enterprise value. But if your reputation is injured, number one, you're going to have a bad enterprise value. And you can be attacked by so many different constituencies around the world putting their own spin on events that if you're not managing it professionally, you're going to have a hard time continuing to hold that reputation. But more importantly, if people don't understand your reputation, you can have the same result as bad reputation. So it really is a factor. Companies have to be focused on building both. You have to have results. If you don't have results, a great reputation will only buy you a little bit of time. But if you have results coupled with, an ever-increasing reputation, a strong reputation that you can preserve, or one that you're helping people learn about and create, I think you're going to get an exceptional enterprise value. And I think that, it becomes almost a necessary 2 legs, rather than, sort of reputation and communication. It's a nicety, it's a necessity. We are a big, small company. We are trying to stay very entrepreneurial in our approach. Another $1 billion or $1.5 billion revenue should not change that. Client service. On a scale of 1 to 10, the client is, probably 1 through 9, the company's 10. And if you take care of the client's going to take care of the company. I think that people in the professions that we have the privilege to manage and be associated with are really looking for three things. I mean, number one, the money has to be right. It's the way you keep score as an individual. It's a way to assess, your value, and I think we get that right. So then it becomes secondary. That's not a reason people stay with us. The reason people stay with us is that intellectually, we're offering them the most exciting challenges, an opportunity for enterprise enhancement. But I think most of our people know, they're not working on mundane, small, things. They're in the middle, of the most timely issues, that are going around the world. So I think that, clearly the last one has to be fun. And I think we, if we get the money right, as I said, that becomes a non-event. If you challenge people intellectually with the best, challenges, with the toughest assignments, with the ones where they really have to work the hardest, that's going to make them happy. That's going to make them intellectually satisfied. It's going to create fun. So I think they come to us for those three things. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Dynamite.
Thanks for your time. How are we going to do for people? And action.
Okay. One final thing to say is to talk about the way Jay Lorsch, Assistant Dean of the Harvard Business School, described FTI after a lot of liquid courage last year in the evening of one of our management meetings. How cool is that?